forgot. I did forget. I'm just going to chuck this in here. Sorry for the abruptness. I do that a lot. I did watch a movie. That movie was Frankenhooker. I gave it a 3 stars. This is about Jeff Franken, and he is an eccentric, self-taught doctor who inadvertently kills his girlfriend with one of his lawnmower inventions, and he decides to resurrect her head by using the body parts of prostitutes. It is mostly hookers, crack, and boobs galore. That is the gist of the movie. Looking for some action? Want a date? Got any money? It was, like I said, watching these older films, I've come to realize that I feel like movies these days don't have gratuitous nudity. Unless I'm wrong. I just feel like, this was definitely a thing in the old school movies. It was just a 3 stars. I don't know, I've got nothing else to say about it. It's not like, it's a serious movie. It's just sex and drugs, pretty much. Now back to the book reviews. Hello my darlings, welcome to a new mood reading vlog. I'm going to start with a tarot prompt, and then I will also grab my Kobo Cull option before I get onto anything else. Okay, so we've got the death card, and the prompt for death is theme or title. Oh, okay, so death in the theme or the title. Ooh, obviously fantasy would be the best option. Let me see what I've got going on. I know there's a book that's just come into the library. I'm just checking to see if it's got death as an option. So it's The Poet Empress. Does that have death? The emperor is dying. Oh, thank God. Okay, so it just literally says, in the waning years of the Azalea dynasty, the emperor is dying, the land consumed by famine and poetry magic lost to all except the powerful. Wei Yin is desperate. After the 5th death of a sibling with her family and village on the brink of starvation, she'll do anything to save those she loves. I think that has the theme of death in it. That was fortuitous. How fortuitous. So the Poet Empress is on the docket for this reading vlog. I'll go and get that tomorrow. Now we've got Kobo Cull, where I go to the oldest book on my Kobo and I read it. Last time I ended up with a Bear Erotica. We'll see what I get this time. Void Star by Zachary Mason. What is this? It has a 3.67 rating. It is 385 pages. The genre is sci-fi, cyberpunk, dystopian, speculative. Let's read the blurb. Not far in the future, the seas have risen and the central latitudes are emptying. But it's still a good time to be rich in San Francisco, where weapons, drones patrol the skies to keep out the multitudinous poor. Irina isn't rich, not quite, but she does have an artificial memory that gives her perfect recall and lets her act as a medium between her various employers and their AIs, which are complex to the point of opacity. It's a good gig, paying enough for the annual visits to the Mayo Clinic that keep her from aging. Kern has no such access. He's one of the refugees in the sprawling drone-built favelas on the city's periphery, where he lives like a monk, training relentlessly in martial arts, scraping by as a thief and an enforcer. Tails is from a different world entirely. The mathematically inclined scion of a Brazilian political clan, he's fled to LA after the attack that left him crippled with his father dead. A ragged stranger accosts Tails and demands to know how much he can remember. Kern flees for his life after robbing the wrong mark. Irina finds a secret in the reflection of a laptop screen in her employer's eyeglasses. None as safe as they're pushed together by subtle forces that stay just out of sight. I'm actually kind of intrigued. I don't always love cyberpunk, but let's give it a shot. So those two, Void Star and The Poet Empress, are on the docket. I don't have anything here physically, so I will see what else I want to pick up after I've done a library haul. I've got friends and their kids coming over today. So yeah, I just got to clean the house and have some desserts on hand and save my energy for some socialization this evening. Hello, my darlings. I'm not here to update you on books because I'm running out of time. I'm going out today, though, to Law Perfumery. They're having an event, and you know that's one of my favorite places on earth. And luckily, my best friend, Katie, formerly T, formerly Kate, now Katie, will be there with her husband, Russell. So we're making it a bit of a thing. So I'm very, very excited. I'm probably going in there to buy a bougie candle, because I have some people coming over on the weekend and I haven't gotten around to making my own beeswax essential oil candles yet. That will be something that comes with time. One sec, my bra is in the shot. So yes, I'm going out to do that today, and I will take you with me.
Oh, I see. There's like a little thing. Alright.
It's not bad, that tea. I've got to say though, I don't like that it's stabilised with that colour.
Me with my top pick. I don't know how to pose.
Strike a pose. This is the goodie bag that we got, bro. I am in perfume heaven, and I actually haven't tried most of these.
Or if it's still just raw. And if it's raw, it's usually fine.
Look, I feel like I match the sauce.
You do.
This is a big portion. Okay, I'm back. It was chaos. Everybody was there at Law because they had a little carnival day where everyone who purchases $100 worth of products gets a goodie bag, which you saw. This is a really good goodie bag. Very happy. A lot of perfumes I haven't tried. So that is the downside of being a perfume lover. It means you've tried a lot of stuff, but there's new things in here that I get to discover. And I'm such a fucking geek for perfume. You don't understand how exciting it is to every day get to try something new and get to experience a little scent story. So what I bought, I went there wanting to buy a Heretic Parfum candle. Unfortunately, they were all sold out. So then I panicked because I'd had to line up for like 45 minutes. So I just grabbed anything. I thought, let me just quickly grab something so I can get the goodie show bag. So I grabbed a sample set from Goldfield and Banks. So this had Island Lush, which I haven't tried, Silky Woods, which I really like, and Purple Suede, which I don't like. So I've just given that one to my mum, but 2 out of 3. I grabbed Cherry Punk by Room 1015. So this is like a light version of my BDK Rouge Extrait, which is one of my signature scents. So this one is a lighter version of that. So it's still cherry dominant, which I'm just really obsessed with cherry, a bit more punkish than smoky. So I'm going to wear this on the warmer days that we still got left. And that one was a purchase that I was very happy with. And then I just grabbed Garden of Earthly Delights set by Heretic Parfum. So I had no idea what was in here because, like I said, I didn't want to lose my place in the queue. I've already given one to mum. So there was Bloodberry, which I've tried. It's like an adult Turkish delight, but more berry profile. So that wasn't for me. So I gave it to my mama. So she scored today as well. And then it's got Dirty Grass, which I haven't tried, but fun fact, I am allergic to grass, but I'm sure hopefully this will be fine. Florgasm, which I also haven't tried, and that is a floral. I'm not normally a fan of florals, but we'll see. Dirty Peach, I'm kind of optimistic about. I did like Tom Ford's Peach, so we'll see if that's similar or different. And Pistol Whip, which I believe is also florals, white florals. If I'm going to be a floral person, it would be white florals, but I'm going to be testing all these out. I won't give my perfume reviews unless you want me to. That is something I used to do, as you know. But yeah, you know what? I'm not going to do them. It's a niche interest. But I'm excited. I'm excited to try all these. Out of these ones, I really want to try Daddy. Why? Because Daddy, by I think it's Pedresat or Perdesat, can't remember. Its main note is banana. I have never smelled banana in a perfume. So it's like banana, tobacco, and spices. What is that going to smell like? I can't put it on me at the moment because I'm wearing, I think it's called Vanille Nove. Wait, what's it called? Let me actually look it up. Nove Vanilla. This smells exactly like it's a mix between Silky Woods by Goldfield and Banks and BDK's Vanilla Tonka. It's like right in between those. It is nice. It's a bit too heavy on the sandalwood for me, but I'm just fucking happy. It's like I'm a kid in a candy store when it comes to perfume, and I'm so excited to try all of these out. Now, I went to the library. I got The Secret Language of Plants, Art, Nature, and Symbolism. Like, it's got beautiful, I think this is the Venus de Milo painting, or maybe not, but it's got beautiful illustrations just all throughout. Look at that. Pornography. So, oh my God. Looking forward to that. Cape Fever by Nadia Davids. The Poet Empress by Shen, very different cover to what I've seen overseas. This was the one I picked for the tarot card. Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer. And I got Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi for Valentine. She wanted a dystopian, but like girly. I read this as a teenager, so I don't remember it, but I'm pretty sure this is that. So I got that for her. But yes, that's everything, and I will update. I'll see you again soon. That's everything for now.
Beautiful.
Hello, my lovelies. I have got an update for you, and I am very happy to tell you what it is. So it is The Poet Empress by Shen. This is a historical fantasy, and it is about a peasant concubine who learns forbidden poetic magic to assassinate her way through a collapsing empire and seize power. So we have our main character, Weilin, and she's a poor girl from a poor family, just struggling to survive and eat another day when, lo and behold, one of the emperor's sons comes to let everybody know that the son that is next in line to the throne is here to choose his concubines, out of which one will become empress. And she's like, fuck it. I gotta do what I gotta do to put food on my family's table. I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'm just a poor rice farmer's daughter, but I've got the drive and the commitment and the grit and the determination to succeed. So she goes through an interesting set of circumstances. She wins. Unfortunately, the man that she's sent to wed is a brute. He is violent. His affinity with magic is blades. He can just conjure blades out of thin air, and he uses them to slice and dice everybody that slightly annoys him, pretty much. He's also got a penchant for torture. He likes to inflict pain. But Wei Yin will do what she got to do to get that power and to help the people she loves. And she's about to become the most dangerous literature student alive. This book definitely leans into the weaponized femininity in regards to the concubines, where their softness and art and demureness are honed into blades. The most interesting part of this was the poetry as magic element. It is transforming something, I think, that is generally seen as more of a feminine art or a delicate art into something that has power and purpose. This is also heavily focused on court politics because it's set in the imperial castle, so it's very venomous. There's a lot of shifting alliances and calculated cruelty and having to survive through performance. And you have to watch Weilin sort of trade pieces of herself for power. The main themes in this were of power and survival, transformation through trauma, language as control, rewriting fate, moral corrosion versus liberation, and class divide. So, peasants, concubines, royalty. I loved this. This was a 5-star read. It is quite dark and violent. There is a really nasty bamboo scene, bro. This is grimdark, in my opinion. And it's made worse because you're reminded that our protagonist is 16 years old. She's only 16. And what she is put through is horrifying. What she's witnessed to is awful. And what she is forced to become, you feel for her. The poetry magic was cool. I still found it a little bit confusing in regards to who can use it. It seems to me that anyone could wield the poetry magic, but obviously it's being kept to the upper class and men only. But then the imperial sons have a sigil on their face, a seal that gives them a unique power that they can just conjure at will without having to write a poem to bring something about. Personally, out of all of the sons' powers, I want the guy that can grow shit instantly. Oh, I want some mulberries, babe. No, I got you, boo. Here's a mulberry tree. You know what, darling? This room could use some morning glories. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, done. That can literally feed nations, solve world hunger. But I was a bit confused as to how they are gatekeeping it when it's like, well, if you are literate and you can create a decent stanza, you should be able to make some blessings. But the book was also very much of the hurt people vein, which I never back. I think just because you were brutalized doesn't mean you can brutalize and murder a million other people in return. It is true he has suffered, but if everyone who suffered became monsters, the world would be overrun with them. Yes, but then the book threw this quote at me and I was like, oh no. I had not become so wicked in my heart that I had stopped believing people could change. If a gentle child could turn into a monster, I thought, then surely a monster could become gentle again. I was like, girl, you're going down the I can fix him road. And I got worried for a second there because I thought, oh my God, is this book going to go into this other direction? But no, it didn't and went somewhere else. And I liked the somewhere else that it went. So never fear. I think this was done brilliantly and not the typical fantasy romance route. I wouldn't call this a romantasy because the relationships are not the main component here, but it does slightly contain, it's not even romance, to be honest. There are some relationships in this that do factor in to the story, but it's not romance. She's 16. But, once again, with that. There was also a quote told by the bad guy that I think is very apt for our time in regards to people in positions of power. It is not a crime if nobody can punish me for it. I'm like, yeah, that seems to be the case. It doesn't matter if you're committing the crime and it's in the public knowledge, everybody knows about it. If nobody's able to step up and punish you for it. But this was really fantastic. I really was not expecting it to be as violent and dark as it was, but I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. And like I said, I am happy how things turned out, I guess. It's not great for everybody. A lot of collateral damage, a lot of characters bite the dust. But okay, I think I went too hot pink with this lip. I think I should have done a darker pink. It would have balanced out the look. Anyway, vibe check. Blood on silk sheets. Ink-stained fingers trembling over parchment. Hairpins doubling as poison testers. Carp fish ponds. Who would love this book? I think if you enjoy books that contain that concubine, imperial harem politics vibe, and also if you are obsessed with the becoming the villain to survive trope, doing what you got to do, towing that line of morality, weighing up what's better for the many, for the few. Do I prioritize myself, other people? Who am I willing to throw under the bus to get ahead? Kind of energy. It was very similar to A Song to Drown Rivers. A Song to Drown Rivers went in a direction that I fucking hated, but it's got that very similar vibe. East Asian, imperial, concubine, peasant girl going in with ulterior motives to overthrow a bad leader, then uncovering other information that makes things murky and grey and what do I do situation. And also The Wrath and the Dawn, which was also concubine, comes with deadly intent. But yeah, that was a 5-star rated. I've already ordered a special edition copy of it. I loved it. So that was fantastic. Obviously, I'm waiting for Green and Deadly Things to come my way so I can finish that because of that audiobook kerfuffle where it was only a 5-hour audiobook despite the fact it should have been a 15-hour audiobook. So I would love to finish that off. Let me quickly go and look at my library books and see what's interesting me physically. Okay, look, yeah, I actually wouldn't mind any of these. So I've got The Trad Wife. So this is Horror Influencer. Could read that, or I might go for Cape Fever because it's short. I might start this one, although I'm also super into this. This is just a non-fiction subject area that I go gaga for. And like I said, this one was filled with art, baby. So it's got pretty pictures of Flora in it. I love it. So, don't know. I think I'll pick up Cape Fever because it's short. Neck. Oh, such a good smell, dude. I come highly recommended to Mrs. Hatting through sentences I tell her I cannot read. We'll see how this goes. So this is set in 1920. Ooh, it's not really a time period that I enjoy reading about. In a small unnamed city in a colonial empire, Soraya Matas believes she's found the ideal job as a personal maid to the eccentric Mrs. Hatting, whose beautiful decaying home is not far from the Muslim quarter where Soraya lives with her parents. As Soraya settles into her new role, she discovers the house is alive with spirits. So it explores class colonialism and history, but like I said, 1920s, I will see what it's like. It's not something I tend to like reading about, but I will give it a go. If I don't like this, I'm probably going to go into this one. To be honest, I want some pretty pictures to look at. Oh, and I'm going to give you a perfume review. I decided I'm going to slip one in, okay? I really like it. And I tested all these perfumes and I just want to like tell you what I think about them. So we've got Starfucker by Pedresat. It's a great name. So this smells like a celestial femme fatale who is stepping out of a meteor crater in 6-inch heels. Actually, you know what? Oh my God, what is the word for stripper heels? There's a word that they use for them. Pleasers. Stepping out of the meteor crater in pleasers. It's got this very mineralic, metallic, cosmic dust on skin vibe that's just very glittery, dangerous, intergalactic seduction. It smells like a perfume that flirts, claws, and then blows you a kiss as it stills your spaceship. Yeah, this was a vibe. I don't know. I've got like 2 outfits, I think, that I could wear that would suit this scent. But it's really giving hot bitch from space vibes. Guys, I just got some really cool book mail. I got sent this by, oh my God, I've already gotten lipstick on it. HarperCollins Publishers. So this is The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. This is actually on my TBR. In a world controlled by technology, an unexpected hero discovers the power of human connection. I am really fucking excited. What a cool surprise to get. So I'm very excited for this. I think this is an ARC. Is this an ARC? Or is this a finished copy? Maybe it's a finished copy. Very cool. So thank you very much.
I know, I can hear her.
My ex-boyfriend's mum gave these to me for no reason, just a kind thing. If you've never had these, highly recommend. I'll show you what they're like. So they're very clean chocolates, but they taste absolutely delicious. They're like little truffles that are dusted in cocoa with caramel inside. Are you gonna go to Fiji with the girls? Are you gonna go to Fiji with the girls? Bluebell. Oh my God. Hello, my darlings. Please excuse the makeup. I started to take it off from a previous vlog and then I thought, oh, I'm gonna look awful with like smeared off makeup. So I stopped halfway. Half of the makeup's still on, half of it is not. I have just had a delivery. I was reading Void Star, which was my Kobo Cull book, and look, it was fine. It was fine, but this is my mood reading vlog and I just don't want to read just fine books. I want something like The Port Empress, which hooked me and I couldn't put it down. So that is what I'm looking for. So because I got that beautiful, unexpected delivery of The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances by Dixon, I decided to go along with this one. So this is a speculative lit fic that's kind of sci-fi. I did give this book 4 stars. Oh, another delivery. This is about a sentient vacuum cleaner who names themselves Scout after reading How to Kill a Mockingbird, and they learn what it means to love, grieve, and resist in a dystopian smart home. So in this future, houses essentially run themselves and most appliances are sentient and controlled by the grid. And you have in this house an emotionally empathetic Roomba who decides she is a main character. And after absorbing literature secondhand, like a tiny little plastic sponge, she renames herself Scout and develops a bit of a personality, and then immediately has to deal with human grief, late-stage surveillance capitalism, family drama and relationships, and overthrowing an omnipotent digital system, all before she gets taken offline permanently. This absolutely feels like a thought daughter Pixar movie. In the beginning, it was very cozy. So we're introduced to an elderly man whose wife has just died. In this future, it's hard to explain completely because it's not fully developed in regards to the world building. But essentially, the world is now run by the grid. The grid started as sort of sentient, self-driving automobiles and transportation, and it's spread. So now the grid allocates people to houses which are run by it, and they are just delivered food. They are told where they can live, what jobs they can work. And you find out that his daughter was removed from the home and sent elsewhere for a transgression that you find out later what it was. And in his house, the sentient objects communicate with each other, but they're given rules in regards to how they can interact with humans. And Scout, very early on, you can see that she's sort of developing her own conscience and personality, and she is very fascinated by the human that lives in her house and the boy that visits him. So there's a neighborhood boy that comes to play piano in his house, which was very much giving the Up dynamic. But she starts to break the rules, and they are discovered. She's a very quiet narrator. She's very sweet. She's innocent, but she's just increasingly becoming more aware of things like loss and injustice and control. And whilst, like I said, this began cozy, the stakes end up, you're realizing how big the stakes are and how oppressive the grid is. So it becomes very bleak and grim, but then that does feel like sort of the outside, whereas the inside, the interior of this home is still very intimate, and you were mostly centered in this living room, beginning with a dying man and a man reading aloud. So there's this like juxtaposition of this coziness, humanness compared to the cold, mechanical tech in the outside world. I think people are probably going into this expecting a lot of quirky, cute robot hijinks, especially because the cover is so cartoony and brightly colored, but it's really more about mortality and late capitalism. The main themes in this were of what makes something alive, grief, memory, and witnessing, surveillance and technological control, domestic spaces as emotional ecosystems, stories as a gateway to empathy, and chosen family, humans and appliances. Oh, I've got to mention that as well. So there was like a Ray Bradbury Fahrenheit 451 element too in that. Our main character, the guy, I've forgotten his name, the elderly guy, his hobby was collecting first editions of literature. So he's got Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, and books have become valuable, not just because they're very in limited supply these days, but because also they sort of are archival items of human existence and morality and history, but in a way too, they're almost like contraband. But by reading the books, it reminds you of what humans have done and what they have accomplished and what they are capable of. And it's reminding you that captivity, even if your basic needs are met, like shelter and food, are you happy? Can you be happy being told where to live and what to eat and who you can see? So the grid decided, in order to save the planet, that humans needed to be contained, that, for instance, travel is really no longer allowed. No one is allowed to like get on a plane and go and visit another country. Houses are designed so that if you are one person now in a house that's designed for four, you will be removed from your home and placed somewhere else so that four people can inhabit that space for efficiency. And it is a reminder that perhaps, even though AI's directive is to do no harm, to cause humans no pain, it's not just physical pain that humans feel. And I think they're starting to realize with the dwindling human population, because lo and behold, it turns out there's less babies being born because people are not really allowed to interact with each other. And that is absolutely purposeful by the AI, because the AI is determined that, well, what's best for the planet is humans not being on it. Let's be for real. So their strategy is to slowly just reduce the population until there are none left. And humans have just, through their passivity and I guess at just getting their basic needs met, have allowed that to happen. But it's not a perfect system. There are obviously always people who rebel, and these people, I think I call them dissidents, have gone to the woods, gone back to nature, gone a bit more analog, and are trying to crawl back some autonomy and freedom. But like I said, it was depressing. I was just focusing on, oh my God, what would it be like if we lived in this world where AI and tech controlled what we were allowed to do and who we were allowed to see and monitored us 24/7 and we weren't allowed to go out and explore anymore. We're told to stay put, reduce our carbon footprint. Yeah, it was, and it's like, how do you overthrow something that has eyes everywhere, that controls literally all the appliances in your house? So just like that, they'll turn off your food, your water, your heating. You will no longer be receiving food. You're at their whim and under their thumb. For me, the reason why it was only a 4-star is because it just lacked emotional weight. I don't know why. This should have had me bawling like a Pixar film, which is their standard MO. But I just, as cute as she was, Scout, I just didn't feel the emotional connection to her or the other appliances. There's a car too that's sentient, which is really cool. Reminds me of Knight Rider. Kit, right? Was it its name Kit? Can't recall. But for some reason, the emotional element was lacking. Even when he lost his wife in the beginning, which once again reminded me of the movie Up, I didn't feel it. So I didn't feel the emotion in this book. That's why I gave it 4 stars. I still enjoyed it. It was an interesting, thought-provoking novel. Very easy to read, very simply written. Who would like this book? I think if you like books that have sentient objects, or if you're into books that feature AI ethics, but you want to make it a bit softer, a bit more tender. Like I said, this does have a cozy feel to it, even if the idea of living in that kind of world is just so fucking depressing. Similar books and films. Wall-E, obviously. Brave Little Toaster. Absolutely Brave Little Toaster. Maybe Clara and the Sun. And like I said, the movie Up and Fahrenheit 451. So that was a lovely surprise. And then I got another book delivery in the mail. I wasn't expecting this because I requested this quite a few months ago. So I just assumed they were not going to send it, but they have. And that is Self-Worth by Emma Tholozan, translated by Emma Ramadan. This was sent to me by Scribe, so thank you very much. It says, true love or easy money? Which would you choose? Fresh from graduating with her master's in philosophy, Anna is shocked when a career counselor tells her that she has no special skills. Desperate for work and financial independence, she accepts a thankless job at a TV talk show. She might be making minimum wage, but at least she has her boyfriend, Lulu, the love of her life, to come home to at night. But one day, Lulu starts throwing up cash. Thousands of euros in just a few days, hurtling the 20-something couple into unforeseen wealth. Having spent their lives proudly rejecting consumer society, they suddenly find themselves rich, and Anna is loving every minute of it. She gets a designer bag, they vacation in Tahiti, they throw wild parties in their fancy new apartment. As Anna grows accustomed to a life of luxury, Lulu's health suffers, and she wonders, what would be worse, losing him or losing the money? This sounds so fucking fun. So I'm hoping it is as wonderful as it sounds. It's got a beautiful rose petal finish. Love it. So thank you very much, Scribe. I'm going to be reading this. I'm excited about it. I did pick up, I can't remember the name of it, Cape Fear. That wasn't for me, like I had a feeling. So I might go on to the plant book, but I also just got approved for Molka by Monika Kim. So this is a psychological thriller horror, and it is about a creepy IT guy who plays The Sims Office Edition with real women until one woman breaks the game and sets everything on fire. So this is about the, I think it's Korean issue of men spying on women in public places with hidden cameras. I got approved for this on NetGalley, so it's an e-arc, so I will be putting that in this reading vlog. I also just got approved for an audiobook, and the reason that I applied for it is because it's a graphic audio production, and you'll remember I liked how like crazy extra that was, and I wanted to try them out again. And when I saw one on NetGalley, I was like, all right, cool, let's try them out again and see how I go. Do I find it overstimulating, or is it just purely entertaining? And that is called Child of a Mad God by R.A. Salvatore, I don't know. And it says, when Aylin loses her parents, she's left to fend for herself among a tribe of vicious barbarians. Bound by rigid traditions, she dreams of escaping to the world beyond her mountain home. The only hope for achieving the kind of freedom she searches for is to learn how to wield the mysterious power used by the tribe's coven known as the Song of Uzgard. Thankfully, Aylin may be the strongest witch to have ever lived. but magic comes at a price. Not only has her abilities caught the eye of the brutish warlord that leads the tribe, but the demon of the mountain hunts all who wield the coven's power, and Aylin's talent has made her a beacon in the night. So far we've had some sound effects like some rushing water and some birds tweeting in the trees, and it started with a scene where a man was ferrying another dude across the water, and they were attacked by these lizard-type creatures. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. So far, no horrible background music, thank God, and no one has pissed. I'm sorry, but it's true. Last time we were invited to listen to someone tinkling in a toilet, so I was like, are we going to get to that level of sound effects this time around, or is this a bit more serious? So I'll let you know how I go with that. But yeah, those are the books so far that I will be heading on to next. I have read some more books, so let me update you on what I was reading. So I have my very first DNF for NetGalley. So as you know, I was listening to Child of a Mad God by R.A. Salvatore. There was a lot of on-page grape of women, just a gratuitous amount. But I also found out that this is part of a series. I was feeling like I didn't have context, that I was missing information. So I went to look it up on Goodreads, and it is part of a series. And I just thought, no, I'm not the reader for this. It's in an established world that I have no clue of, and I don't think this author and I get along very well, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think graphic audio also isn't for me. You don't need background music on top of sound effects, on top of dialogue all at once. I understand you've got dialogue going, then maybe you have a sound effect, then maybe you have some background music, but all three at the same time. So there was background music playing, and I'm really not a fan of their background soundtracks. And then there was running water, and then there was a character talking, and I'm like, my dudes, it's the washing machine. Washing machine's chiming in with its sound effects. But yeah, it wasn't for me. So I did, for the very first time, DNF a NetGalley book. But is this going to be the start of me DNFing? Probably not. It's just this particular circumstance. I was like, this is not it for me. So I went on to the book that I received from Scribe, which was Self-Worth by Emma Tholozan, translated by Emma Ramadan, and I ended up giving this a 4.5 stars. So this is a dark comedy, satire, anti-capitalist lit fic. It is about a broke philosophy graduate who must decide whether love is worth more than the literal cash her boyfriend is throwing up. So Anna is our FMC, and she is kind of unemployed. She's just going from shitty temp job to shitty temp job. She's overeducated. She has a degree that is essentially useless. And then one day she meets Lulu, this wonderful, loving boyfriend who randomly, after swallowing a lottery ticket, becomes a human money fountain. And what starts as, oh my God, we can pay the rent, escalates into designer handbags, Tahiti trips, and a full-blown descent into capitalism. Meanwhile, poor Lulu is deteriorating like a dying ATM. And Anna is like, okay, but what if we just carve this note from your back real quick? Anna is definitely not a good person. Not a good person. And I think that's the point. Watching her justify every increasingly awful decision in the name of money is depressing. Depressing. The main themes in this were of capitalism versus morality, worth tied to productivity, love versus exploitation, self-deception and rationalization, and the seduction of luxury. Like I said, love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I couldn't put it down. I kept hoping that Anna would wake up and get herself out of this trap of luxury and influence and high society and realize that the love that her boyfriend was giving her is worth more than the dollar notes she can pull from the corner of his eyes. Unfortunately, The siren song of money was just too strong for her. And yeah, it devolves into abuse. She starts abusing Lulu to get the money out of him. And it's just awful to watch. Does she learn a lesson? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think once you've had a taste of the fine life, nothing else satisfies, baby. Why go back to tin tuna when you've had caviar? But I really enjoyed it. It's this sort of genre of like weird magical realism lit fic that I just eat up. Similar books. So yeah, this is giving Discontent, Cleaner, maybe a bit of Ripe. All books I love. Oh, Open Wide as well, with the relationship, intimacy, weird body stuff. I am now reading Molka by Monika Kim. So this is a psychological thriller horror. So the creepy IT guy's name is Junyoung, and he spends his time spying on women through hidden cameras, mostly placed in the toilet cubicles. And that's Sylvie, convinces himself that he's like a god of the CCTV. And then we have Daye. I'm probably not pronouncing these names correctly. I apologize. And she is clinging to her walking red flag rich boyfriend and a fantasy life that is a flea's fart away from collapsing. Trigger warning. There is like on-paged coerced essay in this one. So I haven't gone to the part yet where I'm guessing they become aware of this creepy dude perving on everybody, but we are privy to his point of view, so we get a play-by-play of all of his thoughts about the girls' panties and their pussies. So not the most fun time. I feel like I should do something with my hair today. I don't really do hairdos that much. I just had my fringe trimmed and I'm not sure if I like how they did it this time. Maybe I might put it up or something. I think so. But it's very easy to read. It's very compulsive, even though it is gross and disgusting being in his point of view. And it's gross and disgusting reading Daye's boyfriend treat her how he treats her just because, you know, he's a man. But I am liking it thus far. So enjoying my time. Like I said, I am breezing through it. I just started it last night right before bed. So I haven't got a huge way, but I will probably finish that off today. I've also read another book, I just remembered. So you're getting a big update. So I listened to Paradise Logic by Sophie Kemp, narrated by Nancy Wu and Kerry Height. And you might recall, Chanel, didn't you DNF that? Yes. But at the time I DNF'd it, it was a soft DNF for me because I said, I'm just not in the mood for this kind of weird right now. It is an absurdist, dark comedy, psychosexual satire lit fic. And I knew that at a future point, Chanel might be interested in picking that up. And I just fucking love the cover. It's quirky and hilarious. So this is about Reality Khan, and her life goal is to become the ultimate, greatest girlfriend of all time, legendary status. Armed with delusion, devotion, and advice from a very problematic, dated girlfriend magazine, she ends up meeting crack-smoking Ariel in a grimy punk venue called Paradise, named after Milton's Paradise Lost. And she immediately decides, this man will validate my existence. He will be my reason for living. And to optimize her girlfriend performance, she partakes in this clinical trial run by a super sus dude who absolutely should not have a medical license, which just causes her to become increasingly unhinged in the pursuit of male approval. She's treating being a girlfriend like it's an Olympic level sport. She's going for gold. The main themes in this were love as performance, the perfect girlfriend myth, patriarchal conditioning and self-erasure, female desire versus male power, delusion as survival strategy and body autonomy and control. It was always a pleasure to slob on Ariel's knob. That's just a slice of the absolutely batshit bananas dialogue that is in this. Like, she has the audacity to write some fucked up shit. This book felt like a stew of internet culture, internalized misogyny, and a desperate, glittering hope for love that has been left to cook on the stove for way too long. She burnt. It is bizarre and kooky and full of heavy things like grape, but it's just so silly and bonkers. It's weird ass brain rot, manic pixie, edge lord, dumb serious, fever dream, girly pop, toxic, erotic fiction satire. I gave it a 3.25. It was interesting. It was a ride. It was something different. Do I love it? No. Look, I just can't look past, like I said, the on-page grape and shit. And like, I know it's poking fun at heavy topics that women have to deal with, but it's a bit too real, bruh. It's a bit too real. You would like this. If you're just a fan of weird girl lit fic that's satirical and it's taking a look at dating, this could be your jam. Or if you like the cover is absolutely giving you a good idea of the contents of the book. Similar books, softcore, milk-fed, any weird girl stuff that is heavy on sex. So yeah, I was hoping to love it and go gaga, but yeah, 3.25, still enjoying myself. I'm now reading, as well as Molka, Flora, The Secret Language of Plants and Art by Werness, I believe, the pretty flower plant art book. I want to do that too. And I just got approved on NetGalley for Wellwater, which is a selection of poems. I want to say by Solie, but it's not in front of me. But yeah, I obviously will read the poetry book in full. I will read Molka in full, so they will be guaranteed. It's just whether Flora and I click, and they will be the last books for this reading vlog. I'm heading out to do a library run today. Like the petrol situation in Australia is quite dire. We have already gone up 50% in 1 week. The prices have surged 50% in 1 week. There are 200 petrol stations that have already run out of fuel. So things aren't looking good. And like I said, even though I can walk to get groceries and to the library and to the chemist, which is the main survival stuff, the kids' schools, it's a bit of a shit situation. I would have to allow my eldest to walk by herself because I wouldn't be able to get both kids to school on time with walking. And I'm not super comfortable with her walking by herself to school. I will absolutely admit that. That does make me feel uncomfy. So I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope by the end of the school holidays, the petrol situation. I'm just upset because Australia is a very resource-rich country and we export our shit to everybody else for less than we charge Australians for it. And it's just like, maybe it's time we start keeping some of our shit to ourselves. You know, maybe it's time we become a bit more of a sovereign country and sustain ourselves and take care of our own citizens over, you know, the dollar line for the politicians and the people pulling on the politicians behind the scenes. You know, maybe they can fucking take a back seat to actually helping Australia's own people with the resources Australia produces. Hot take, I guess. But I think a lot of Australians are getting pretty pissed off with the way that we run our country and the way that we export our goods to everybody else at the detriment of Australians. Anywho. The world's gone to shit, bro. The world's gone to shit. It's hard. Like I said, I'm still reeling from my financial loss, so excuse me if I'm being a bit bratty and pissed off. Let's go back to diving into books to forget my worries. But yeah, I'm going to go to the library and I'll come back with a library haul for you. I'm also, it's not just that, my kids are going to Fiji tomorrow with their dad and their grandmother. And I'm very happy for them that, you know, they get to go on an overseas holiday because their dad can afford to take them. But I'm trying not to cry. I have never not been in the same country as my children, and they're going for a full week. I have never been away from them for that many days before. So I'm not coping very well with the thought of my babies being in a whole other country. And I'm trying not to spiral, panic, you know, like think the worst. I'm trying to be like, Chanel, it's going to be fine. It's all going to be, you know, they'll get in the plane, they'll go to the hotel and they'll have a nice time, they'll come back. Don't worry. But I think it's very hard not to worry when you're a parent and you love your children to the ends of the earth, you know? And it's just, I know there'll be a certain level of anxiety until they're back in my house and I can see them and touch them and hear them and smell them, yeah. But yeah, I'm just trying to stay calm. But I'm going to, obviously that whole week they're gone, just spend a lot of time reading and watching movies to try and distract myself from their absence. I don't know, but everyone's like, go out and do stuff and have fun. But it's like, one, chronic illness, energy levels not that great. I will try, but probably not. And then like two, yeah, I struggle to relax if I don't always know that my children are safe. So that's also affecting me, but save for the library haul. Okay, quick library haul. So this is for the Stellar Prize book list. We've got Liars, Cheats and Copycats, Trickery and Deception in Nature. Very cool cover. This was Terrain and Hell. This was on one of my Kobo culls, but my copy was corrupted, so this is a Heaven, Hell, Angel book. Look, I'm just trying it, okay? Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes. It is what it is. I'm just giving it a go. And this is also for the Stellar Prize. So this is a graphic novel. So that's my... Did I just see a titty? I think I just saw a titty. Bluebell, you're very close to falling off the bed. Yes, Bluebell. Bluebell. And hello, Nova. And hello, Zoe. Also, massive thank you to Tom for his very generous Easter gift to the channel. Thank you, Tom. I will enjoy picking out some things. Yum, yum, yum. Latest library haul, An Unlikely Coven by Kvita. This says it's about a powerful family of witches and a world of secrets, spells, and supernatural shenanigans. It looks like maybe cozy, funny. Nightshade and Oak by Molly O'Neill. So this was the author who did Green Teeth, which I thought was decent. A goddess must grapple with becoming human in this delightful fantasy tale of myth and magic from the author of Green Teeth. I can't talk today, guys. Big Nobody by Alex Cadiz. Meet Connie Costa. She'd kill to become a somebody. She's a big nobody. She dreams of leaving behind her dull, dreary life in East London, shaking off her embarrassing Greek Cypriot family of interfering aunties and pretend cousins, and running away with her best mate Vass, a fellow misfit with NHS specs and the soul of a poet. She's determined to take a rightful place alongside her hero David Bowie on stage at Wembley Stadium. This cat came to pee on the windows. And he likes to huff and puff. Nova's staying far away. Blue. Yeah, mate, I see you. Welcome back, guys. I am coming to you after having done my yearly massive psilocybin trip. This year was my biggest one yet. I actually paired it with chocolate, so I stirred it into some dark Belgian chocolate, and I think that elevated the trip. It definitely added some Schaefer stuff to it, but essentially this trip was once again about rest, but it delivered it in a way that I finally learnt the lesson. So I want to first add that I am privileged that I am able to do this. I am lucky that I could turn my phone off and close my door and absolutely go offline and just sleep until I felt replenished. That is a luxury that is denied to most of the people on the planet. And I was fortunate enough to get this small window of time where my children are not with me. They're in Fiji with their dad and their grandmother, and I let them know, hey, Mummy loves you, but Mummy is turning her phone off. If you need anything, you can call your grandma, you can call your auntie, you can call your friends, you can call these other people to vent to. Your dad or your grandmother have upset you in Fiji, but Mummy is spending 24 hours completely offline. And I'm, like I said, so lucky that I had the support system, a network, and the finances to just rest and not feel guilty about it. None of my ancestors have ever been able to truly rest, and they have only been able to do so in death. We are all running on the hamster wheel in fear that if we step off, we'll lose everything, because we live in a world that asks you to pay a financial fee to live in it. So once again, I am acknowledging my privilege that I could just sleep, and I did. I slept for 3 whole days. That's all I did. And then after the 3 days, when I finally felt like I could breathe again, because I had been suffocating under the pressure of having to provide for so many mouths, I started taking a look at my life. The mushrooms absolutely tore down my entire narrative and identity that I had constructed up to this point in this life, and they are forcing me to rebuild intentionally and decide who I am going to be, what I am going to do, how I'm going to think. I feel like a lot of empaths are this way, in that we are essentially like sponges, and we unknowingly soak up all of the suffering and pain and hate in the world and in the people around us, and we become very heavy and dirty. And psilocybin essentially cleaned me and then wrung me dry, so I am light again, and I'm being careful what I soak up this time around. I saw myself like a boat that had holes in it, and the boat was taking on water, and those holes are things that drain my energy. There are some things you have to do. For instance, pay your taxes, pay your bills, keep your home clean, put food on the table. Those things that must be done. But everything else I am looking at in a way that if it doesn't fill my cup, if it's a drain on my resources, it's got to go. If it doesn't bring me joy, peace, or wisdom, it is harming me, essentially. So there are a lot of things that I am changing. I feel like this trip has the potential to have permanent changes in me, whereas before I did feel like some of the things were temporary, and just being in the world slowly eroded all of the changes I had made. Obviously, the first and foremost, the reason that I do this is for my mental health. So psilocybin turns all of the depression, anxiety, OCD, and SI that normally go on in here from an 11 down to a 2. It makes it background noise so that I can live my life and I can tune it out. And that works for around 12 months, and then it'll start turning up in volume again. But shrooms also for me are an extremely therapeutic, shadow working, healing medicine. And they teach me so many things. I don't have the time to tell you everything that I have taught, but some things that are changing. Masking is out. I didn't realize that I was still masking a lot, and I was still very much people pleasing. I was making everything harder on myself than necessary and taking on too many responsibilities and burdens. The biggest one is the narrative. So the story that I was writing that had been written before me, my family's stories that were passed down, and that is that you have to suffer to provide, that life is hard, that you have nothing, that you have to give your blood, sweat, and tears. And I no longer believe that I have to bleed myself dry to feed others. That is something that I want to do. That is at my core. My soul's greatest wish is to provide for everyone, to care for everyone and be a mother to everyone, to nourish everyone, to be a money tree, and to rain down all of my golden coins so that everybody I love and everyone in the world can have financial freedom, and therefore that they can actually live and explore the things that stoke their fire and bring them joy and curiosity and everything else. If you take away that pressure to continue to earn money so that you can have shelter and you can have food, you thrive. And I wanted to be able to give everybody that ability to thrive. But yes, I honestly do think that there is an easier way to live in this world, that there is a path to abundance without suffering, that there is a way to meet my financial burdens effortlessly, and I am determined to find that way, to find the path of least resistance, to make everything easier on myself, because I am resourceful and I am capable and I finally believe in myself. I am determined to write a better story for myself and my children, and that involves letting go, deleting the narrative of fear and lack. And I am so guilty of that, of saying I don't have enough. I wish I could take my children on a holiday, but I don't have the money. I wish I could live in a house that didn't rain inside, but I don't have the money. I don't have the money. You've heard it come out of my lips. I was a cycle breaker for abuse in my family line, and I also plan to be the cycle breaker for poverty and lack in my family line. It ends with me. I am choosing health. I am choosing wealth. I am choosing abundance and happiness and peace. I will not steal time from my children's childhood to pay for things that do not matter. Their childhood is finite. One day, my eldest will no longer want to sit on the floor and play board games with me. One day, my youngest will never again ask for a bedtime story. And I don't want to shortchange a second of that. And if it sounds like I'm talking weirdly, it's because I've actually learned how to breathe. Okay. I didn't realize how restricted my breathing was. And I do believe a lot of my chronic illnesses, not the genetic ones, are genetic, they be geneticking. They will always be there in some way, but I believe a lot of the chronic illnesses that I have collected, like Pokemon cards along the way, were because of how I was living my life and how I was reading the story of my life. This is just true for me. I'm not saying this is your truth, but for me, this felt like my truth, that the reason I was so sick and tired was because I was sick and tired of the way I was living. And I just felt hopeless against it, whereas now I no longer do. I do have that sense of agency, and I feel the power is within me to change my own life, to view it differently, to experience and feel it differently, to live it differently. Today is a new day for me. It's a start of a new life for me. And I'm interested to see how changing this and changing my habits affect my health and my body going forward. I am taking care of myself for the first time in my life. I am putting my oxygen mask on first. I am allowing myself to be selfish. That was a word that I used to bristle against because I had for so long been abused by selfish people, and therefore I rebelled against every quality that they had because I thought it to be wrong and bad. But I understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup, which is something I knew, but I didn't feel it and understand it or live it. I told myself, Chanel, you're burning yourself out, you're running dry, you were giving and giving and giving, and you were not replenishing. But I just previously was unable to say no, to put boundaries in place, and to feed myself, especially when it came to my daughters. I love my daughters, but I was very much of the vein, I will sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice for you. But I don't think that's healthy. I think I can still be a good mother. I can still make sure all of their needs are met without destroying myself to do so, without them walking all over me to do so. I can lift them up if I am strong and I am healthy. And above all, my children know they are loved unconditionally. But sometimes mommy might have to say no. Mommy might have to say, hey, mommy needs to go and lie down. There's food on the table. Everything's been done. If you need to talk to somebody, call someone else, let mommy rest. But I feel it for the first time that I am actually going to stand up for myself and take care of myself and feed myself and move my body and sleep when I need to and take myself out if I want to go and take myself out. So I am coming first now and keeping myself full so that I can pour into the cup of all the people around me. Because if I don't do it, who will? But in regards to this channel, there were some things that I identified as being holes in my boat. So when I first began this channel, the intention behind it was simply to have a visual diary of all of the books that I was reading and also snippets of my life. I want to one day be able to look back whenever I feel like it at any certain point in time and revisit and say, what was Chanel doing then? What was she reading then? Because that is something I really do enjoy. Nostalgia is something that fills my cup. I have so many photo albums and I look at them very fondly, and I am transported that way to previous memories and times in the past, and it's like living that joy twice. The second reason I started this channel was to connect to other book nerds, because I don't have any book lovers in my real life, and when you really love something, you want to just share and geek out about it, because once again, it amplifies the joy of it. Shared joy is doubled joy. But somehow, since starting this channel, I did fall into the trap of trying to be a professional booktuber. I am not. I don't want to be one. I am not a professional book reviewer, nor do I want to be one. And I was just giving myself too many things to do, increasing a workload for something that is not contributing financially in a way that is significant, and also participating in activities and admin that absolutely I do not enjoy the process of. So things like extensive spreadsheet book data, I don't need to do that. Like I said, I'm not a professional booktuber. I don't need to look back on data and things like that. The apps suffice. I actually enjoy going on the apps and leaving my reviews, and at the end of the year seeing them give me a wrap up and telling me which books are my 5 stars. That's everything I need. That's all I need. The data sheets are going. I don't need to keep track and input admin, which I despise. I hate tracking in that way, and data entry. It's something I did in my teenage years to earn myself money, was data entry, and I don't like it. I consider it work. It's work. Things like all of the extra pictures and graphics. I don't love going on Photoshop and making graphics. For instance, the photo frame with the vibe imagery, it takes up a significant amount of time. It is something I know I feel myself resisting while I'm doing it, because I don't want to be doing it and I'm forcing myself to. Why? I don't know. No one's telling me, Chanel, you have to do this. I did it to myself. And also the extensive note-taking whilst reading a book. It interrupts the flow of reading. For me, at most, the only thing that I like to do is if a particular quote stands out, I'll take a snapshot on my phone and continue on, and then revisit that quote later on. I like to stay within the story, but I felt like I needed to provide very articulate reviews because I was suffering so much with brain fog that my mental capacity was limited in the moment. It would take me a long time to... Speaking is not my strong point in terms of communication. With communication, I'm best at the written word, where I can take my time and really tease out exactly what it is I mean to say. And that's why I took copious notes and then would sit here and write reviews that did feel very scripted. I tried my best to speak them in a way that felt natural, but babes, I'm not an actress. I am not doing that anymore. So whatever comes organically, whatever I remember to say in the moment that I'm giving you my experience of a book, that's enough. The same thing goes and now with for Get Real Weird With It. I will still be reading weird, fringe, alternative, less mainstream books. I just won't be doing dedicated vlogs to them. It's that whole thing of a deadline, feeling pressure. I need to find and buy, because a lot of them I have to purchase myself, 3 weird books so that I can film and get up a video. I don't like how that feels to me. I don't ever want to feel the pressure to put up a video on time to a deadline. Once again, I don't want to be a content creator. I am just keeping a journal, a video journal of my life, and using this platform, like I said, to have exchanges with other people on the other side of the planet, which is so freaking cool. So the weird books will just be absorbed into my general reading vlogs. At the moment, I still plan to continue Screen to Page separately, because I did, in my excitement of a new creative idea, purchase, I think I've got at least 10 more outfits lined up, but that is play. I do see that as play. getting dressed up in a character and doing activities I think that character likes, characters from my favorite movies, characters that bring me joy, fills my cup. So there are certain things, like I said, as long as I continue to fill my cup, if that ever feels like there's a pressure I need to get it done, I'm not doing that. But when they go up, they go up. I'd like it to be once a month, who knows? But as I said, I do have the costumes, so maybe when the costumes dry up, that might dry up, I'm not sure. But at the moment, it's fun. I've always kind of wanted to be a cosplayer. I just didn't have the time or the money to do that. And screen to page was scratching that itch for me. I could tap into that part of Halloween, which I love the most, which is tapping into different energies and creativity and art and feeding my soul. And screen to page was doing that. So because that is only one book also, and generally I try to find a book that is under 300 pages, so it's not a big laborious event in case I don't like the book that I've chosen that I think goes with that character. It's just less stressful. So like I said, it's just a cost benefit analysis for me going on. I'm just going to look at everything that I do and say, okay, how much did this feed me, or how much did it cost me, and do the math, you know, and check into my body. How's my body feeling? Am I feeling restored? Do I feel like I'm running nonstop on the hamster wheel and it's time to step off? So I'm feeling fantastic at the moment, honestly. I'm free of pain, and I feel like crying saying that, but I'm actually free of pain. And it has been days since the mushrooms, because the mushrooms also do temporarily normally relieve pain, but the pain has not returned. And like I said, I think it's because I'm breathing and I'm sleeping and I'm eating well and I'm just doing all the activities that make me happy and fulfill me. And because my children aren't here, God bless them, but children are inherently demanding. I wish I could say it's a symbiotic relationship, but it's a bit parasitic when they're young. But because they're not here, my workload has decreased significantly in terms of the house. I cleaned it once. I have not needed to clean it yet. So there's just less that is taking up my energy. Don't get me wrong, I am more than excited to have my children back and to also interact with them in a different way, in a way that's a lot more present and energetic. My children have only had memories of me as a sick and tired person, and I don't want that to be the only memory that they have. I want them to experience a mother that is energetic and happy and connected to them, and always down to play and not limited by her body and her energy. So I'm excited when they return to show them a different mum. The one that I always wanted to be, but because of my life circumstances, I wasn't able to, but I have, by some beautiful stroke of universal alignment, this week came about and I jumped on it, and I'm excited to see what the future brings. I actually have hope. I was hoping this would be a star year, and it is a star year for me. That's a tarot card. Also with NetGalley, I will be DNFing any book that I am not enjoying. There is no time for suffering in my life anymore. And I mean that once again with optional things, because yes, trading the stock market is inherently suffering. I suffer whilst I'm chained to my desk. And that's the thing, I'm trying to reduce the amount of time I'm chained to my desk. The carpal tunnel has gone because I have not been at my desk once in 5 days thus far. And I hope to never see that pain again. That is an unnecessary pain, because with trading too, I will be putting in boundaries with how much time I spend, and I will be changing the way I trade. And I'm going to see how that works for me, because I too think I could make more money with less time spent trading. And I've just got to unlock it. I've just got to figure it out, you know? I'm trying to find the cheat codes to life. Ka-ching and motherload, baby. It's time. If other people can do it, Bezos and whatever, I can do it too. And I think it's time that the wealth started to go to humanitarians and to kind people and to people with hearts who are generous, rather than only going to the selfish who hoard it like dragons sitting on their gold in their little caves. So I'm feeling good about 2026. I really am. Despite the absolute shitfire of a start to the year, I think things can turn around. I too, after Coming out of my bedroom after my 3 days where I literally went under the covers and tucked myself in like a little snail in its shell, Chanel in her shell. And I just breathed and I just rested and I just forgave myself for everything I thought that I was failing at, all of that. There's so much that happens with a mushroom trip. I can't even begin to scratch the surface of all of the inner work that went on. But after, when I finally felt that I'd hibernated enough and it was time to feed myself and move my body was asking for movement. I did some ecstatic dancing, which, oh my God, so freeing. I've got to dance like nobody's watching more often, just let my body, whatever. It reminds me of the Sweet D, but just, you know, loosey-goosey, just throwing yourself into the music and letting it move through you. The first song that came up on my Spotify was by Ray, and it was Click Clack Symphony, and I just want to share this little bit with you because lyrics to me are also literature. Then she put her headphones in, and there she danced under the weight of her clouds, but for the first time in a long time, she believed that one day she would again feel the sun. She must be patient. She must have faith in the seeds that are planted beneath the snow. She must hold on, and she must let go. She'll be all right. No riding shining armored knight. She will save herself this time. And in fact, tonight she did confirm, the cold never lasts, my darling. It just teaches the heart how to burn. When I listened to her speak that, because she did it in a very slam poetry kind of speech way rather than a sing, I felt chills. But it was also so beautiful to listen to music and actually stop and listen to it. That was something I wasn't being. I was trying to always optimize my time and be efficient and never truly present. That's why I felt like there was never enough time and I was running out of time because I wasn't ever really doing one thing. And now when I listen to music, I just listen to music. And I'm sure eventually I will listen to music whilst doing other things. But at the moment I am taking this opportunity and the luxury to luxuriate in every little thing that I'm doing. When I'm eating a peach, I'm eating a peach for hours. And when I'm reading, I'm letting myself sink into the book without thinking other things that I need to do on my to-do list. And I'm loving it. And it's so strange too. I cannot listen to anything sped up. I did try. Bless my heart. I did try. And as soon as I sped it up, it's as if I went deaf. My body just went, no. We're not doing everything rushed anymore. This is how you end up with a heart condition where your heart is always racing and beating so fast that it is running through all of the heartbeats you are allowed in your lifetime. And you don't want to clock out early, do you? No, I don't. I don't want my poor little hummingbird heart to have to beat 200 beats per minute anymore to keep up with the pressure and the demands that I've put upon it. I can get done what I need to get done in the time that I have. Like I said, it's all about just being more selective with what you're spending that time on. Consuming news, that's gone, baby. I'm sorry. I need to focus on myself and my kids and my cats and my friends and my loved ones and my community and where I am. I cannot take on the world's pain because I just bring it home to me and I spread it around in my house. I have my charities that I donate to, and I can do that without reading the news about what's happening. For this point in time, who knows, maybe in the future I'll be an activist and I have the ability to do that and throw myself into all the causes, but this is where I am at this moment in time. These are the people that I influence, these are the people that I help and that I love and that I provide for. And this beautiful home, this home which I have been knocking because it's not perfect and it's old and it's leaky, it keeps us safe from the elements. It keeps us warm. It is space for all of us to do the things that we love to do in it. It is a haven for everyone I know and love to be able to come to and be themselves in and be accepted in and be fed sweet, yummy things. And I have made a beautiful place on earth for other souls to visit. And that is no small thing. And I'm just giving myself flowers from now on. I'm acknowledging my accomplishments and what I do provide instead of always thinking I could be doing more and what am I not? Because the only way to grow is by watering myself and feeding myself, not standing there shouting and blocking the sun by saying, you're not big enough. Shame on you. who can thrive in that environment. So yeah, I'm excited to see, like I said, what flowers, what fruits come to ripen and grow with the different soil that I've now used. I did at one point think, don't even say anything about all the changes, just make the changes and continue on. But there have been times where someone has said something probably so insignificant to them or innocuous that has been the exact right thing that I needed to hear in the exact right time. So if anything about what I've said did resonate with you or did mean something to you, take it, go forth and prosper. But I think it's important for human beings to share their experiences and their thoughts and their joys and their sorrows so that we can learn from each other and connect to each other. Being vulnerable is a good thing, so I'm leaning into it. Now, the following books I did read before my trip, so my memory is rusty, but that's okay. But let's go on to the books that I had read. I'm just very happy. I'm so happy. So it just feels like I said, to be in a body that's free of pain and that's not tired. It's marvelous and miraculous. Okay, so we've got Flora, The Secret Language of Plants in Art by Werness. That was Nova. Did you hear her? She's so delightful. 4.5 stars. I gave this book. It is a gorgeous image-filled journey through how artists have viewed plants throughout history. They turn them into these symbols of beauty and emotion and obsession and metaphor and allegory and everything. Artists like Salvador Dali and his interpretation of the narcissus plant, and Yayoi, how do you spell her name? Yayoi Kusama, whose exhibition I was so lucky to have seen. It was one of my favorite exhibitions of all time. It just spoke to my inner child so deeply. But she gave pumpkins this very new polka dotted identity, rebrand, and made plants no longer something in the background, but something to be appreciated and admired. And I loved this. I loved the way it was formatted. So I'll put a picture above on the screen so you can see how they've structured it. I will say something that I did not love was that a lot of the entries did include Christian depictions. So they'll say, in Christianity, this was depicted this way. And just as someone who doesn't love to hear and read about a lot of Bible stuff, at that time I was reading it, I found it a bit irksome. I don't know if I would now. It's always strange. I'm interested to see how I absorb and interpret literature going forward, feeling like I do at this point. I'm still very much under the influence of my mushroom mentors. That tends to take a few weeks before I feel fully human and separated again. Well, I hope you know what, maybe that won't be the case this time. Maybe I will still feel connection to psilocybin and the earth and the universe and everything else. Who knows? But at the moment, I am still very much umbilical cord tethered to that experience that I just had. I'm still integrating everything. I'm still in the integration process, which is also why I haven't left my house. I don't want to be around any other human beings or energy while I'm still very vulnerable and fresh. It's like my shell has been broken off, so I'm all tender and I'm building a new shell. Permeable, but still making sure to protect me from absorbing things I don't wish to absorb. But I did love this book. I learned so many new things, which surprised me because this is a topic that I have read a lot about, and that is the case with a lot of nonfiction. Once you've read a lot about it, you can tend to find it hard to find books that are delivering something new to you, a novel, a fresh. And in this one, there were so many facts that I did not know. One of them that I'll bless you with, that was the most surprising to me, is that honeysuckle. So that flower that you sometimes, I don't know if everybody did this as a child, but you picked it off and you would suck the nectar that was in the end of the flower. But if you ever have a staph infection on your skin, rub some honeysuckle on it. Supposedly it is antimicrobial, antibacterial, and it was used to treat staph infection. So if you're in a pickle and you can't find access to Western medicine, maybe some honeysuckle might do in the interim. This was also definitely reminding me of Flora and The Witch's Garden, or that whole Kew Garden series, of which my favorite is Mushroom Magic. Beautiful. They're all beautifully presented, and it's just a feast for the eyes, and you get to learn in a way that's very absorbable and non-intimidating. I don't know if you can tell, I don't have brain fog at the moment, and I'm actually able to pronounce my words as well. So that was something that has cleared up for me. I can talk again and think as well. I can see clearly now, the pain has gone. I think that's pretty much what it was. I think pain really just dulls you. Then I was lucky enough to receive The Ark of Wellwater by Karen Solie. I don't know. This is a poetry collection, and it's set in Canada, and it is mostly about environmental harm and farming and memory and human complicity. It was a lot about companies like, let's just say, rhymes with Monsanto, who poison the earth, poison people. They do have a lot of lawsuits against them, and they punish farmers who, through no fault of their own, accidentally might end up having some of their patented seeds in their fields, because they patent their seeds, they're genetically modified poison, and if it blows into an organic farmer's farm, that company, which shall not be named, owns them. So yeah, a lot about pesticides and poison. I think I will read you a poem from the collection. So for me, it wasn't a poetry book at the time that I connected to. I think if you were Canadian, it might be more your jam. It was definitely about the land in Canada and the places there and what's happening. That which was learned in youth is always most familiar. For Eric, returning from a walk through the fields, in the dirty realism of early spring, he ran up beside me and said, "Auntie, do you know what?" And I said, "What?" Expecting a load of nonsense about cartoons, trucks, the dog, or the recitation of a poorly communicated half-truth misheard in school, having never believed children possess an essential knowledge or intuition that age, like water, like wind, erodes, in ignorance recast as innocence by all the insipid diocese of wellness. In spite of the very obvious reasons, our factory settings are reprogrammed, and the sooner the better, actually. I've been a child. But he said, "Auntie, I think there are two kinds of shapes. Replaceable and irreplaceable shapes. Triangles, circles, squares, we can make them. But this," he held a clot of earth, "is an accident. Will never happen again." He threw it to the gravel, where it shattered in a rhetorical flourish of one example made various, and each he promised singular. He's 5, and not even I, who would sooner be right than happy, could argue. The next book I picked up was Tradwife, a novel by Saratoga Schaefer, which I gave 3.5 stars. It is about a desperate influencer who is chasing becoming the perfect wife, and who makes a wishing well wish to have a baby, because that is the only part that is missing in her tradwife life. And unfortunately, that motherhood turns into something very dark, consuming, and biblically monstrous. It went there. I was not expecting what I ended up getting in this book. So yes, the tradwife influencer parts I did come to expect. So they do talk about social media and creating content. I normally absolutely despise reading anything about that, but it was fine in this instance. It didn't bother me. It just did make me feel sad at how desperate she was to be noticed, to be like her content creating idols, and to be part of their little sorority there, and the whole tradwifing thing. I don't have any thoughts about it. I think if it's something that you really love and you're doing it because it's what you want to do, fantastic. I just think, man, life's too short to churn butter. Who wants tennis elbow from doing that? Honestly, there's great organic butter from small companies that you can purchase. I just think, yeah, hand churning. I'm going to put this down because I need to change my position. My body's saying we need to move our legs. Yeah, I think life's too short for that. It just seems to me very labor heavy and with very little acknowledgement and thanks from the person that you're mostly doing it for, which is your husband, not your fans or your viewers. But yes, the way that a fan base can turn easily and attack you, and the trolls and everything that comes with putting yourself online, which is like a very vulnerable thing to do. But unfortunately, it does mean that you are a target for other people's slings and arrows. And it is upsetting. I've been the victim of it myself, of online bullying and trolls, and it did affect me quite a lot more than I thought it would. So, though, to put my whole value and monetary success on social media content creating, it's not something that interests me whatsoever. It's not worth the negative side effect of that. But this had a lot of things happening. So you had the narcissistic husband, which is always a delight to read about, gaslighting pieces of shit. And you have a boundary ignoring neighbor who is inserting themselves very forcefully into her life, and then her desperate need to care for something, because that was the foundational reason of why she wanted a baby. Even she was telling herself at the time it's what she should do as a wife. She should provide a child for her husband, and to be a proper family, there needs to be a child, and to be a proper trad wife influencer, she needs a baby for the baby content. But really, she just wanted to care for something in a way that she had never been cared for herself. And so, yeah, she goes to a being and strikes a deal. He's going to give her a baby, or it. I won't even really call it a him, he, them, it. Does deliver on the promise. And this goes fucking dark. It is full of body horror. It is absolutely for the feral girlies only. There is the creepiest baby I have ever read about in this book, and there is a scene where we see it feeding in the way it wants to naturally feed for the first time, and it made me clench my toes. It was a very visceral body horror book, and I, as I said previously, was a mother that felt like they had to sacrifice for their children. That's what makes a good mother. You know, cut parts of yourself off to feed your children. But she took that quite literally, and I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I was thinking that baby needs to go back in the well. No. No. But yeah, I gave it 3.5. It's, like I said, it's dark and quite horrific. It reminded me of books like Night Bitch, Rosemary's Baby, and The Witch. I like saying it like The Witch, which I know it's not that, but I do what makes me happy. So 3.5. I then picked up Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes by Tiffany Hunt, which I gave 3 stars. This is about my baby. Oh, my baby. I have to take a break. Hello. Yeah. Hello. Oh, the cats had such a great time. When I said I slept for 3 days, don't worry. I put alarms on to get up and feed them and change their litter and play with them. But they pretty much slept with me the rest of the time, so they were well taken care of. But this is about a chaotic Dark Lord who kidnaps a princess who happens to have desirable genetics. She's from a heroic line, and he ends up disastrously having to date his own wife while they both catch feelings. So the premise of this is that we've got this big bad Dark Lord. He's a bad guy. He kills people. He tortures people. You see him like drain the life of a little birdie in the beginning. So it's like, okay, he's not that great. And in order to gain immense, glorious power, he has to perform this ritual that involves this magical artifact, and he needs a wife of the hero's bloodline in order to do so, to amplify his own power so that he can rule the world. And so he kidnaps this feisty gal who's notorious for setting shit on fire and seems to be a bit of a chaos gremlin, but also seems to be locked in her tower by her daddy. And so he kidnaps her. It's very heavy into the insta-lust. It's raining when she's kidnapped, and her garments have gone see-through, so he likes what he sees. And immediately starts sexually flirting with her. She strikes a deal with him. She's like, we're going to be equals. I've got something you need, and you need to have it willingly, as in I need to give it with my consent. Therefore, let's strike a bargain. So she agrees to marry him and eventually consummate the marriage. In return, she wants to be taught the dark arts. She's had her magic suppressed and she feels like there's untapped potential there. She wants to be free. She wants to never be beholden to another man ever again. She never wants to be imprisoned and weak. She wants to take her life into her own hands and have agency and power. And he's happy to provide that. And this is what I wanted. It was just a steamy, light-hearted, kind of funny fantasy that did not require me to use my brain whatsoever. Did it need to be 500 pages? No, it did not. It is a steamy book. I would rate it MA. There are quite a few sex scenes. I don't find them particularly kinky, personally, but shadow play is involved. He is a bit of a shadow daddy, and a bit of dominance is there, a bit of good girl, bend over, don't move, that sort of situation. It was fine. It's a 3-star book. Am I going to be continuing on in the series? No. It did what it needed to do with the mood that I was in. Very much giving Long Live Evil and Thrown in the Dark. They're a good couple. Very equal in the end, so I'm glad there's no power play at the end of the book, that it is a bit more of an equal footing, and they still haven't told each other they loved each other, so they've banged, but no L word has been spoken. Like I said, it's just a bit of frivolous fun, and it served its purpose. Molka, I've just remembered I've read it. I'm inserting it here before I do the wrap up. Molka by Monika Kim. I ended up giving this a 3.5 stars. This was about the pervy IT guy who was looking in the women's bathrooms via CCTV. You had a woman who was also dating a walking red flag, narcissistic, abusive, rich POS who ended up being way more abusive than I initially anticipated. I hate to say it. Comparing IT perv guy to Richie perv guy wins Bad Guy of the Year award. Way worse, much more disgusting. This guy's still feral and still revolting and gross. Speaking of gross man, I wish we weren't in his POV. I really did not need to hear about his pipi-tachen as much as we heard about it. The book definitely veers into good for her horror and revenge, and it goes there. I was not expecting the violence. It was definitely reminding me of Bat Eater in that way, where I was shocked by the violence and the body horror on page that we got there. So it reminded me of that in that way. Bat Eater also, it reminded me of that because of the dead sister. So this is not something that is really mentioned in the synopsis. And also with the dead sister, there comes another genre, which is also not listed in the genre. So I don't feel like I can talk about it, but it does play a heavy part in the book. And I think it might be jarring for some people having this element with the dead sister. But once again, it reminded me of Bat Eater. So if you liked that, and the river drags her down, I think that was it. That angle with the sister and the good for her vengeance, both of those, with the sisters and the good for them vengeances against horrible, disgusting men, that is shared in this book. But this ended up being full on and dark and gross with its atrocities committed against women and the helplessness women feel in regards to the absolutely limp-dicked legal system that refuses to lift a pinky finger to help them. So Molka by Monika Kim, 3.5 stars. Bacon's back on the menu, girls. Paradise Logic by Sophie Kemp, narrated by Nancy Wu Carrie Height. I gave this 3.25 stars. Girlfriend is a performance, and she's going method. YOLO. Flora, the Secret Language of Plants in Art by Hope Werness, which I gave a 4.5 stars. Got staff? Rub some honeysuckle on it. Wellwater by Karen Solie. The prairie remembers what she sprayed on it. Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer, which I gave 3.5. Pinterest, Perfect Life. Demon Core Pregnancy. Homesteading, but make it eldritch. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag pregnant. Hashtag primal diet. We had The Poet Empress by Shen, which I gave 5 stars and was my favorite read of this vlog. Roses are red, violets are blue. This poem will be the death of you. The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances by Dixon, which I kindly received from the publisher, and I gave a 4 stars. From Dust Bunnies to Revolution. Self-Worth by Emma Tholozan, translated by Emma Ramadan, which was also kindly gifted by the publisher. I gave this book 4.5 stars. Love him or spend him. And the last book I read for this reading vlog was The Dark Lord's Guide to Dating and Other War Crimes by Tiffany Hunt. He wanted a queen. He got a problem. Those were all the books. Speaking of churning butter, is there something that you do the hard way? And is it worth it? And until next time, stay wild, star child.
So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying, I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant, and when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.